So you want to put up a metal building. You should probably educate yourself a little better than I did. Do a buttload of research, ask a buttload of questions, don't make assumptions like I did, and let's start with the concrete. So my cost of the concrete was $7,700 total. That's 30 by 30, 4-inch thick with fiber mesh and vapor barrier. I don't know how well you can see that at the angle, but there's a bevel there in both doors, so rain has a harder time getting in. It does sometimes if the wind's blowing against the doors, it comes in a little bit, but it's not bad at all. Probably would have been a lot worse if they haven't done that. And my concrete guys were the ones that told me that I should absolutely get the flush mount kit that basically just mounts the building flush with the edge of the concrete. So the concrete is exactly 30 by 30, the same size as the building. And when the guys put the building up, they run the sheet metal down past the concrete so water doesn't get up in there underneath that bottom rail. A couple problems with this. For one, when I went to the dealer to do all this, I asked if they do the flush mount kit, and she told me, yeah, they do. They automatically do it. And from based on the pictures of their website, it looked like every building was flush mounted to their concrete too. So I assumed that's what it was going to be. Well, they contacted me just to confirm everything, confirm the time frame and all that. And something came up about the flush mount part. And they said, no, they don't do that. You have to check off an option on that when you order it. $300 extra or $350 extra because of all these L brackets. Another problem with that was that the guys that put the building up didn't take the metal all the way down past the edge of the concrete. Like part of it here, they went about flush, just about to the top of the concrete, almost a little higher where you can almost see the bottom rail. Before I had the gutters on, when it rained, it would splash on the ground and splash up underneath that bottom rail and water would get inside. So instead of calling them and complaining about that, which I'm sure they probably would have came out and done something about it eventually, but I've heard a lot of stories with these metal buildings. These guys are some fly-by-night crews. They just fly in, slap the building up, leave, go in a different area, and do the same thing. And you can't get them back out here for months and months on end. So I figured I'd just do it myself. I cut a piece of extra siding I had laying around for the last owners of this building, stuck it up underneath there myself, and it definitely helped. And then the gutters, that definitely helped too. So concrete's been down for almost 6 months now, and no cracks yet. So that's a good sign. I mean, I know it'll probably eventually crack it at some point. Most concrete does. Looks good. I was pretty happy with it. The crew I had was awesome. I'm in kind of southeast, kind of central Missouri area, and yeah, $700, not a bad deal. So the building itself cost me a little over $17,000. And it was through American Steel Carports, and that's basically what these metal buildings are. They're enclosed carports, pretty much all they are. 2 9x8 roll-up garage doors, 1 side door, and 2 windows. A little over 17 grand. It took a crew of 4 to put it up in about a day. They got it done pretty fast. They started like 9 in the morning and probably weren't done until about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So these roll-up doors, they are 9 foot wide, 8 foot tall. Probably could have went a little wider. I also have a 16-foot trailer, just a car hauler, and it's like 8.5 foot wide. So I mean, I got like 3 inches on each side when if I pull it in for like wheel bearings or whatever, brakes, if I need to work on it or whatever. But yeah, I should have went wider on that. And being roll-up doors, they suck for insulation. You got these huge air gaps on each side. Lets in a lot of air. It's still pretty decent at the bottom. The top, there's a huge gap at the top above those rolls. And that's just the nature of it. They need space for when you roll up the door. Well, obviously the roll gets bigger, and when you have the door up, there's not much of a gap there, but obviously when you roll the door down, that roll gets smaller, and the gap gets bigger. So I paid for the top seal. All it is really just a big flap of rubber that covers up that big gap up there. That's it. But they also make brush seal kits, which I'm thinking about getting, that go on each side of the doors. And supposedly they're pretty good for keeping out wind and critters and whatnot. So they're cheap, but I try to go as cheap as possible, and you get what you pay for, basically. So not bad. They get the job done. Side door, pretty cheap, pretty flimsy. If the sun's shining on that side of the building, you can see sunlight coming through that door. So they're pretty thin, flimsy. I don't know exactly how much it cost in the whole deal, but they're really cheap. So one problem with this is, though, this is why you should ask questions and do research. They asked me when they were installing it, they asked me which way I wanted it to open and shut. I said towards the inside, because I don't like having the door propped open outside and have to deal with the wind slamming it shut. So they mounted it like that on the inside. Problem is, it's backwards, and when it rains, get a lot of water down there at the bottom because it collects at the channel at the bottom inside here, and then it just flows down right there. So the installer should have known that and should have told me. Shouldn't even have asked me which way I wanted it, because there's only one way this thing mounts. But I should have asked questions. I should have done more research. Should have paid more attention. But it is what it is. I still might call them out to do this, because I could probably do this myself too, but I really shouldn't have to. So I don't know if I'm going to do it myself or not. We'll see. Windows. They're not bad. Single pane. There was an option for a double pane, and they were like twice the price. I said, nah, I'll go with the single pane. Not a lot of drafts around the window, actually. They're a little more sealed than I thought they'd be. They're a little tighter. The windows themselves don't leak, but the problem is when they install the windows, once again, it's the installers, they just slap this crap in and they don't pay attention, or they just say, screw it. We're just putting it in. We'll get it done as fast as we can so we can get out of here. So when they install them, this one leaked the worst. This is at the back of the building. Of course, there's no overhang at all or gutters at the back of the building to block any rain. So this one leaked the worst. Usually this side, this corner here, and the water would come out down there. So I came out here, tried caulking up all the big gaps that they have in there. There's a big gap there. You can see some of my old caulk. Obviously it didn't work. It slowed it down, but it didn't stop it. So I eventually just kind of pulled the window kind of half out, pull all the screws out, and this is what they should have put in there. This is a foam enclosure that goes inside there, and it perfectly seals it up. Now that I have it in there, it doesn't leak at all. That's what they should have done. Another problem with the installers. On to the insulation. Basically, the insulation is a joke. They put it up as they were putting the building up, which I've heard is the proper way to do that. So it's in between the posts and the sheet metal on the outside, which is good. But in all the paperwork, they call this fully insulated, which is pretty funny because I don't consider this fully insulated. This is barely 1/4 inch thick. This is fully insulated. Yeah, I don't think so. It's a radiant barrier with this foil stuff pointing to the outside. So basically when it's hot out, it'll kind of deflect some of the heat towards the outside and keep it from coming inside, which is fine. It does seem to work already, but that 1/4 inch radiant barrier is not going to hold heat in. No way. So this option here with the building costs $4,000, which is insane. Crazy. Don't do it unless you're not interested in keeping heat in the winter. Like I said, I'm in the southeastern kind of central Missouri, and it is hot in the summer, but it gets butt cold in the winter too. So I'd like to keep some heat in there. I could have saved the $4,000 and also the money I spent on the foam board insulation behind these walls. I could have saved all that money and probably done some spray foam, even though spray foam is pretty damn expensive. But this stuff, no. And electrical. Had a pretty good crew put in some electrical. Basically, they ran it from the old shop, ran it from that box up into the ceiling, all the way across, down the side, underground, back up to the new box. Put in one light switch by the door. I got two 120 outlets on each wall, and that's a 240 for my welder and the compressor. 3 outlets up on the ceiling for the lights. That was about $3,500, which ain't bad for all that. And they ran the wiring all up along the posts, up and down, not across in between the posts, but they went up and then down. So they did a pretty awesome job with that. Gutters. They do not offer gutter installation when they put the building up. Most places don't do that. I don't think. You have to do it yourself or get another company to do it. So I put them up myself. A few problems with putting gutters on these buildings. Well, at least with this one anyway, and probably most of them. There's no place behind that to mount to. That's just empty sheet metal boxed up there. And it's completely empty behind that. So I got up here and put some 2x3s, which fit perfectly inside there. Mounted them with some L brackets. So the gutters have something to mount to, something to hold, because that empty sheet metal is not going to hold gutters, especially when they're full of water. They'll just pull out. So 2x3s all along top. And I also had to put wedges underneath them because that fascia there, it's not flat. It's not straight up and down. It's at an angle, which is goofy. So, and I want the gutters at an angle, so I put some wedges underneath it all the way down. You can get them on Amazon, just like everything else. So with the walls, I did a 1-inch foam board with the foil side facing inside, so I could actually keep some heat in here in the winter. And that's just 1/2 inch OSB over that. Now, since the spacing is goofy between the posts, these are some about 5 foot apart, some are a little more, some are a little less. Obviously, it's not standard framing at all, so it was kind of hard to mount all this when everything comes in 4x8. I've seen guys fully frame it out with 2x4s. I didn't see the point in doing that. So all I did was put 1x3 furring strips, one across the top, one across the middle, and then one there across the bottom. That baseboard there is pressure treated 2x4s. So my thoughts were, I don't know exactly how much these posts and these walls could support, so I didn't want all the OSB hanging on just the post, the metal post. So I put that baseboard down at the bottom, and that OSB is sitting on that. And the 1-inch furring strips are screwed directly to the post, and I screwed the OSB to those furring strips. So all the weight's on the boards down there, on the 2x4s down there. Might have been overly cautious with that, I don't know, but so that'll help with some insulation. Yeah, I know. I wanted to do sides first because I wanted to start doing some work in here. I wanted to cover up the insulation and whatnot with walls so it's protected from grinding and welding and all that. Yeah, I know heat rises. It's all got to go up to the top. I should have done that first, but yeah, I'll do that later. Sometime later this year or whatever, before next winter. So for under 30 grand, all in all, not all that bad. Just keep an eye on your installers. Ask those questions, and good luck to you. I hope that helps. Hope you got some info out of it. I'll be getting back on that bad boy here pretty soon. Please like and subscribe. Thanks a bunch. See you in the next one.